What's going on, guys? Right, Bomby Teacher in the house, and I'm here with the GPL Week 3 Pickems, where we have a lot of fun, of course, with our shenanigans, where we prove that Bomby Teacher is the superior analyst compared to my co-host and good friend Trancel. How you doing, man?
Got me this week. He's got a bit of a limp up. Good DJ guess. Definitely proved. There was another one as well. I can't remember what
I can actually look. It was... I got Professor's prediction correct, and I also got Berger, where you put Nico.
Yep.
So, yeah. Either way, we've had a pretty good week, of course. If you haven't seen what these pick'ems are about, firstly, where have you been? Secondly, hey, you can see the two teams that are playing each other this week in an individual match. Trancel and I are going to break down who we think is going to win and why, and we are also going to do a score prediction, because that could be the tiebreaker to decide who is the better analyst. Alright, so, first up...
We obviously had a lot of transactions this week.
Yeah, so that does shape a lot of things up. Definitely shapes a lot of things up. So, for
this first game.
Yep, so I'll let you take it away. Hey, so first up is going to be Cool versus Shadow. How do you see this one turning out, Trancel?
Mechanics-wise, I'd have to go in favor of Shadow. Oh, Creamy, he's got that now, which is definitely interesting against Grimstyle, actually. I don't mind old Creamy here. Looks pretty damn solid against his team. Toxicroak is obviously could be annoying after it comes out of GMAC.
As well as the Duraludon.
Yeah. Thing's got good special bulk though, but and Mystical Fire to lower its special attack. Yeah. I actually don't mind Cool's matchup here. He's now got Sun as well.
Especially with that Venusaur now coming in. Yeah. Definitely a lot of interesting changes to Cool's team. I definitely think they do improve a lot. I don't think the Pikachu was ever a good pick for our G-Max. So it's nice to see him actually have a proper G-Max now. Well, I think the Venusaur pickup is much needed, as well as the Ninetales, because his cores were distinctly lacking. The one thing that is now missing is a Steel type, as Mawile got traded for Sableye. That is something that, you know, a lot of people like the Steel types, especially their bulky Steels. They are really, really stacked full of resistances. But it does mean that there's not the duplicate typings that was existing. I'm a little sad to see Doublade get dropped. Doublade is actually one of my favourite Steels in Gen 8. I actually like it more than Aegislash at the moment. But yeah, either way, it's an interesting core, but I'm not sure how impactful Sun is really going to be in this match. I don't think it's that great. Obviously, things like the Hawlucha could be a carry threat. Does beat the Duraludon, can put a lot of work in on the Incineroar, for example, but Mudsdale can be a very solid check, especially with stamina boosted. Body Press could be a thing. There is Mimikyu there, though. I don't know, I'm not quite sure, but I feel like I would rather trust the mechanics, because from what I've been watching of Cool's games, he's been winning because of his opponent's misplays as much as his own good decisions, and he is still making a lot of surprise decisions. I'll talk about a couple of the decisions that I think were really quite poor that he made in the Power Rankings video with Denny, of course, but yeah, I think mechanically, I trust Shadow considerably. I think Shadow is a monster when he's at his best. He hasn't had the best of starts to the season, but I do think Shadow is one of those players that you can never write off in a game. I am going to back Shadow now just because I think he can play this a little bit safer and a little bit smarter, but I do think it's going to be close. I am going to put it as a 3-0 for Shadow.
I'm going to go with a 2-0 for Shadow.
Alright. So, next up in the match is going to be Solo Destroyer, of course, with the Wicked Weavils, and Crimpix versus the Nightmarish Shadows. How do you see this one turning out?
So, I think Crimpix has decent answers for Solo's thing. He's got the Gastro for the Dracovic, and the Rotom Heat as well. The Clef can... I think I was thinking of a different team.
My biggest gripe really is seeing the Silvie pick up. Like, it'll be interesting to see what Silvie brings to this team. I was kind of surprised to see that get dropped. But at the same time, I wasn't too surprised. I do think Solo's team is brutal. I pity anybody that has to play it right now. But I have to play it week 6, so it's going to be even more annoying for me because it might dampen my playoffs. But yeah, obviously with Krimpix, I think his team is very reliable in a way. I think it's a very sensibly drafted team, albeit I'm not a huge fan of all the utility in the C tier. I would like to have seen a little bit more offensive pressure there. I think the Darm could definitely cause a couple of dents in this team. I think the Corviknight is not going to appreciate Darm hits at all. It just depends on the Darm set that comes. Duraludon, of course, can beat Gardevoir. Can potentially put in work against Dracovish. Does get max Whirlwind, of course. Whittling down that attack stat, which is pretty much the best way to nullify Dracovish outside of immunities, which Gastro does provide. Rotom is interesting, but it does lose to Rotom Heat, so not a huge fan in that instance. And then it just depends on what else comes. Does the Shuckle come and try and hazard stack, which would be a good way to chip down a lot of this team. Could put a little bit of chips on the Dracovish, which could allow other things to kill. Definitely could annoy the Pangoro that doesn't really want to take any entry hazards on the way in. There is decent enough defog support with Silvie, of course, but I don't know how much that's going to work. There is Corviknight, of course, for removal as well as Rotom, but Rotom will probably have to be heavy-duty boots because that rocks damage is not appreciated. But if it is heavy-duty boots, it can't be Scarfed. That's the only issue for me.
If Krimpix will bring Liepard again. It's not been doing too bad. I don't think yeah.
It's Shades of Titanio from last season for me. Like, Liepard is one of those Pokemon that I just don't like it. And I don't like that it exists. But somehow it either does something or it's completely useless and gets one shot. I don't know how I feel about the Liepard, especially when I see a Gardevoir and a Pangoro sitting there. Like, and a Dracovish for that matter. Like, I don't see Liepard ever coming. Shuckle could be interesting. Definitely some shenanigans that could be done there. Frostlass might be kind of a fun one, but Destiny Bond will be very predictable, and Solo will be very good into that. So, not too convinced by that. I mean, there is things that the Braviary can do, like it can Tailwind to make the Dracovish slower. Make those Vicious Rens do less damage. That could be a thing, but like still Banded Dracovish just does a lot. So it's a tough one for me, but this is another one much like the last match that Solo mechanically is a much stronger player than Krimpix. So I will put this as a Solo win, but I don't think it's going to be super easy. I am going to give him a 4-0 though.
We're on the same wavelength with that. I'm going to go with 4. I'm going to stick with my 4-0 for Solo.
Alright, so in before we both are wrong now and Krimpix wins 4-0 instead. How funny would that be? Alright.
Oh dear.
That would be carnage for Solo, because that would put him in a really bad spot, actually, with one of the strongest drafts. But yeah. Alright. Battle number 3 then is going to be DJ, of course, DJ Darkness versus Nitro with the longest team name in the league with the Buffalo Belligerent Buffalos. I finally said it right without screwing it up. Are you proud of me, Nitro?
Hey.
Dear, but how do you see this one turning out?
As we saw from last week, the Toxic Spike stall that DJ set up was just insane, and I feel like he could almost do it again. Charcoal can't rapid spin on the Dragapult, so, and that's his only hazard remover. And he doesn't have a poison type. Yep, doesn't have a poison type. Nope. Oh dear.
I do like the Reuniclus pickup though. That's a very interesting pickup. However, how strong is Trick Room Super in this matchup when there's a G-Max Copperajah sitting there? It's kind of awkward. But that being said though, outside of Copperajah, Trick Room may actually be viable because quite a lot of it, the big offensive pressure on DJ's team, like the Dragapult, like the Heliolisk, and the Shiftry and Sun, are actually really fast. So that could be a strategy for Nitro, but the lack of super reliable hazard removal outside of Rapid Spin, which is spin blocked by Dragapult, which we know Dragapult's coming. DJ's been using that thing brilliantly all season so far in both matches. So it is a huge question mark for me as to whether Nitro can play around this. And it's not even like you can switch the Ferrothorn in to absorb the Toxic Spikes, because Dragapult gets Flamethrower. So there's not like super easy ways for Nitro to be able to get the Carkol into Rapid Spin. That's a bit of a bind for me. I do think this could easily be a bloodbath. I think DJ can really swipe up and clean up Nitro's team, which is sad for me. I have a lot of respect for Nitro, of course. He's a very good friend of mine, but I think DJ's matchup is so painful. And I think DJ's, in the form that he's been playing in, yeah, I feel like DJ's got this pretty comfortably. I'm going to go straight out say I think DJ's going to 5-0 this one.
Yeah, it looks really rough. I'm going to go all in and say 6-0 DJ. I think it'll be super rough.
Yeah. You will have easier games, Nitro, I promise. Alright. Coming in, battle number 4 then is going to be Denistrio versus Silvie. How do you see this one turning out?
We've got Team Revamp over here. Excadrill and Gigalith. He's got a Sand Animal.
As well as the Thievul.
Yes.
Thievul, the super OP C-tier pick. Wait, what? Sorry about that. Even my camera, even my webcam auto-focused away from that. Jeez. As you can probably tell, I really like Thievul. Just kidding.
Yeah. And then Sylveon's been hyping up this Linoon. Don't know how much it actually does here, if that much at all.
I can't really see it doing too much, if I'm being honest. The E-Speed's resisted by the Gigalith, and Arcanine gets Intimidated, so... and there is a Drifblim that's immune to E-Speed. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Linoon does get Thunderbolt, bizarrely enough, but that's a special move, so I don't think it's going to matter.
It's got the coverage, but it just doesn't... Like, I don't think it'll have, like, it won't have enough coverage to cover what it wants to, and I think it'll get exploited too much. But we'll see what happens with it. So the Sand Core... Yep. Liking it.
I'm liking the Sand Core as well. I've been being mean to Denistrio, saying why the hell is he not bringing Virizion, but I think this is the one matchup I wouldn't want to bring it into. Mostly because of Flapple, Mew, Togekiss. Can all beat Virizion relatively easily. Flapple less as much, but it is doable. But yeah, I've backed Denny twice now, and I've been wrong twice, I think. Yeah. So, part of me wants to back against him now, and just see if I'm wrong third time, and see if I have to reverse psychology a win for Denny.
But it's Silvie.
But there is the Silvie rule as well, which makes this even harder, because now I don't know which one I want to pick. Honestly, I think I'm just going to have to go on strength of team here. I've always thought Denny's draft was actually very strong. I think it's just piloting errors that has led to Denistrio not having as strong a season as he should have had. But the slight revamp definitely has a good impact. We'll see if he can make good use of it. Making a lot of changes early can always disrupt the team. That's one thing that I've seen. I had that experience myself. But yeah, I think Denny wins this. Please, Denny, prove me right this time. I'm going to give him a 3-0 though.
I actually really like the changes he did. Definitely helps him in this game. Maybe barring the Thievul, but I'm not too much against the Thievul. But what did you say? Sorry, 2-0?
3-0.
Oh, I'm gonna go 2-0.
Alright.
Denny.
Alright then, coming in, battle number 5 then is going to be Tyler. I do apologise for the cursor appearing on the screen. That's really annoying. I'm not changing it. It's going to be Tyler, who's actually the number 1 ranked player in the Diamond Conference right now, which is good to know. Versus Cap Guy, who had a very, very good win against Solo last week. So, take it away. Hey, what do you think?
So, I actually really like. Funny to start with a C team on, but Escalavir's matchup, if it gets into kind of a position, it kind of just clicks its stabs. It has knockoff for Chandelure as well. That doesn't really want to come in.
Would have to watch out for Flame Body, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's pretty solid in there. Charizard's. Yeah, it's Charizard. Got a decent matchup. Appleton, interesting against it. Charizard obviously gets Dragon Pulse.
The problem with going Dragon Pulse, though, is that Appleton has got decent special bulks, so you're probably more likely go Dragon Claw and try and go the physical variant, but then you're missing like Solar Beam for Quagsire then.
It's weak to flying. What am I talking about? It's just going to have Hurricane, so...
That's also true. I feel like Cap Guy's actually missing Venusaur, which actually would have been quite nice for this match. Instead, they brought Umbreon in instead. I'm not too convinced by the Umbreon change. I think missing that Poison type, missing that Grass type, kind of sucks. I gotta be honest. It does kind of suck, but the fortunate thing for Cap Guy this time is that Toxic Spikes is not really a thing on Tyler's team. So, that is kind of a blessing in disguise in that sense. But Venusaur is a nice, specially bulky mon. It does actually hit quite a lot of this team. So it's a bit of a surprise to see it go. At least this week, anyway. But how much will he miss it? It largely depends on how he can put these pieces together. It could definitely be a very annoying, like, Stally Pyukumuku set, which could stall out Tyler's Trick Room. That could be one thing that could happen. Cinccino can definitely be annoying, but doesn't do that much to Chandelure outside of Rock Blasting. I don't even think it gets Rock Blast, actually. I think it gets Tail Slap and Bullet. Oh, it does get it. Okay. So that's one way you can break it. Now, the big burning question for me is, when is Cap Guy actually going to live up to his name and use Body Press? Because right now, I've used it more than he has. I don't see Body Press actually being that great here, though, with a Sylveon and a Shandy. And an Appleton, for that matter. But yeah.
MMO for the Snorlax and the real thing, and I feel like he could just run physically and to work out better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Poison Jab for the Sylveon. Appleton as well. Quagsire would obviously be annoying in a way. But yeah. I don't see Sneasel doing too much here. Obviously, Steelix around.
Yeah, Steelix around, Zard beats it. Even a Scavalier can murder it. Ooh, I actually am going to back Cap Guy to win. I think Tyler's win streak's going to end. But I think it's going to be really, really close. I don't see it being whitewash either side. I am going to give Cap Guy a 2-0.
Yeah, I thought you might have backed him, but I do like the matchup of Capgo's team here. I'm gonna go Tyler 2-0. I'm gonna be the one who gets it.
I like it. Making the inferior calls, I like it. Alright. Oh, cough, cough, Kappa. Fighting words, man. Right. Coming in battle number 6 is going to be Exostorm, coming off the back of a very rough start to the season, but has revamped his team a little bit, versus Berger, who's actually been playing very well recently. How do you see this one turning up?
Oh, so I really like the Runa Regis pickup here. Decent for Haxorus. Will-O-Wisp it. I don't know how much Banded does, probably 2k still. Haxorus is a monster. Anaconda. Yeah. definitely for the drag result, I'd see Sandaconda being good for that.
It's interesting to see the Serena and the whatchamacallit pick up the Drake Assault, but I don't see too much of that. Runerigus is definitely the standout here. Dropping Mamoswine is always a ballsy thing to do. Mamoswine is obviously a phenomenal wall breaker in Draft League, but replacing it with one of the better ground types as a spin blocker in Runerigus is nice. Obviously, it breaks my heart to see Rabombi on a team that's so far down in the league, but I think a lot of this comes down to player choice. So it's kind of interesting. Like, Berger's team is very simple. Like, you can understand what Berger's game plan is. Bolton Haxorus breaks through everything, and the rest of his team plays around it. We kind of get it. We see how this works. How impactful is it going to be? I'm not 100% sure in this case. Bolton's doesn't really do huge amounts to Runerigus outside of Crunch, but that can easily be read. Ooh. See, I really want to see Salazzle more, but I don't think it's actually that great in this matchup. It does beat Slurpuff, pretty unburdened, but that's about it.
I'm curious how he'll play Slurpuff this time, because there's R2 to Magic Bounce Sticky Web that he's been using the past 2 weeks, and Mentine gets Defog and Rapid Spin on Serena, so like that would have to change. I'd see belly drums there if you.
Do we actually see EXO winning, though? You know what? I'm actually going to take the gamble. I'm going to say EXO wins. I think EXO can win this match, but it is down to actually playing and actually prepping a decent side. I think he's got a decent set of mons that can cause issues. It's just going to be on player decision making and how he plays the game. I'll give EXO a 1-0 win.
Yeah. Obviously, webs on both sides. Ravombi can struggle with Corviknight, but it can like annoy Corviknight with having to force it to defog and like stun sport.
And then Dracozolt comes in, clicks Bolt Beak once Sandaconda's gone.
Yeah, with with a U-turn play or something like that. I can see stuff working out there. I'm gonna go 3-0 Berger.
Alright.
How he's been battling this season. So.
Please, EXO, don't ruin this for me. Alright, coming in at number 7 then is going to be my match versus Happy Nico. How are you seeing this one going? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of having a bit of a nightmare with this one.
Yeah. Ganga, it's definitely one of the strongest G-Maxes and has been proving its worth. It's top of the kills right now with 8, so been going in hard. You have a Gudra, that could definitely be a decent answer for it. Zeraora has a bit of competition here. I like maybe Appleton. It's obviously weak to a few things from Zeraora. Very bulky though. Conk can come in if Zeraora got weakened or something like that. Whimsicott.
I love Whimsicott actually in this match. Whimsicott's actually kind of scary. Like, Whimsicott can actually beat the Conk, it can beat the Obstagoon and the Appleton, which are all things that we expect to come. We do expect to see this. It does get coverage to hit Ganga, but Ganga generally beats Whimsicott 1v1. So that's one thing to look at. Honestly, I think this is kind of a close-ish one. I think Cobalion can actually do quite a chunk of work here. Does need to watch out for Charizard, but does get Stone Edge for it, so that's something else to bear in mind.
Yeah.
Things like Rhydon can be interesting, but it's kind of a little bit risky to bring that here. Skuntank can also be annoying for Gengar with that Sucker Punch. That's something to watch out for. Rapidash can definitely come here, could definitely cause a few holes, does need to watch out for the Lantern, but I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. My matchup's kind of close. I do think this is a close one. I think Nico has actually been playing very strong since he came into the league. I do think I've got big threats, but so has he. It's going to be who can outlast the other with their offensive plays, and who plays their offense better. Obviously, I have to back myself.
Albina's matchup isn't the best either. Just Ganga bang there with Charizard. Got a decent amount of special offense.
Yeah, I am obviously backing myself because it's me, but I don't think... I backed myself 4 out of both the first 2 times we played, but I don't think it's going to be a 4-0. I don't think I've got enough power to be able to beat him 4-0. I am going to give me a 2-0, I think.
I'm going with Nico. 3-0.
Okay. I respect it. I think it's fair, to be fair. Like, even though, obviously, I don't like you betting against me. Nah, I'm joking, right? I'll slap you after this. Nah, I'm joking. But, like... but no, I think this one is probably the fairest one to actually back against me so far, because this matchup is really hard to play. It's going to be close. But, of course, last but by no means least, this, to me, is match of the season. I'm not going to lie. Early match of the season. Probably 2 heavyweights here, Professor versus Trancel. I have to be honest, I'm not sure how this is going to go. I do expect Cinderace to finally make an appearance. Cinderace has not played the first 2 weeks. I do want to see it. I do think it can actually put in a decent chunk of work. Does get enough moves to be able to hit. Does get fighting moves for Lapras Hydreigon, of course. Does get, obviously, the big hard-hitting Pyro Ball for Copperaja. That doesn't really appreciate it all that much. Fighting Meal because he hits Rapiria, he can U-turn away, it does get Sucker Punch as well for Kofag, if Kofag even comes. I think Cinderace is actually kind of scary, but yeah, I think a lot of this team, Hatterene generally really causes issues. It does get Max Flare for Copperaja, of course. This is not G-Max Copperaja, so it will not live a Max Flare, unlike the G-Max Copperaja form in Week 1 against DJ. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Aegislash, kind of interesting, not sure how strong it's going to be, but with that close combat, of course, does hit a lot of these mons pretty hard. Noivern can be interesting here, but doesn't do that much to Lapras. My concern really is like your defensive options to Lapras outside of Water Absorb on Vaporeon, which does get Freeze Dry out of G-Max, can be a bind. I think the offensive threats are scary. Like, Trick Room isn't super viable because of Copperaja and Rapiria and Kofag, so that's one thing that could be an avenue for Professor to exploit. Professor's prep has been phenomenal these first 2 weeks. A lot of the things that have come have really made a lot of sense, and he's piloted this team super well. We've said this before, and I know I've said this on video about balance being very hit or miss. You're either super god tier or you're basically bottom of the league. Professor's very much proven to be god tier so far, and I think he might continue that, if I'm being honest. I'm going to back Professor to win.
Interesting thing with the whole Lapras thing is maybe I have Toxic for it on Vaporeon, but he can run Max Geyser Hydration, because outside of Vaporeon there isn't too much water threat. That's
now, of course, Resonance is an ice move, isn't it? I always forget.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something else to watch out for.
Oh right, yeah. Maybe I just don't bring Cinderace ever.
It's a super sub. I mean, it is a soccer player, right? So it's always that one player that's like such a good footballer that would play on another team if he wasn't like at a top club, but he sits on the bench for being a top team. Like, that's probably what Cinderace is going to be this season.
Yeah, and Aegislash will go killless for the whole season. That's been proving.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you haven't played it that well so far this season.
It did what it needed to in that second game, but I know I misplayed it in first. But yeah. What's your score?
I am gonna back Professor. I think Professor's been playing super out of his mind right now. I think, he's been very modest and he's not super experienced, which he hasn't played as many games as a lot of people have, but mechanically he's really on form right now. I think he's definitely the form player to watch. I am going to back Professor. I think he will beat you 3-0.
2-0 to me. That was easy.
Got this easy, he says.
Did it perfectly.
Got this easy, he says, because he beat Denny in the Smack Talk match. All right, Professor, I've got you all the way, man. I've got you, fam. But yeah, either way, of course, that is our Pickems. We have done our vintage half-hour video as always. I hope you guys enjoyed it, of course. Thank you, of course, Trancel, for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. It's been fun.
And we are going to get on out of here. So my name is Robombi Teacher, and that is Trancel. Make sure to take care, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.